Welcome to another race preview. We've got a debut effort to share with everybody here. We got Florida Patriot's first race of her career, going 6 furlongs on the outer turf at Aqueduct. Race 4, 2:40 p.m. We've got a field of 7. If it somehow it scratches and goes in the dirt, the 8 horse will come in. So MTO means main track only. So they're only going to run on the dirt. If they're thrown on the turf, they're not going to go. So a short field for a turf race, which is kind of nice on a debut effort. What do you think, Nikki?
Yeah, interesting field. We have four first-time starters, and three of them are pretty short odds. We're the only one that's not the shortest of odds at 12-1, but I think that line's a little off, hopefully. So an interesting field. The horses that have some experience haven't really shown much. So a pretty wide open race, I think, right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. I think like one thing to note is inner versus outer turf. I mean, they've got it at Aqueduct, they got it at Saratoga, they got it at Belmont too, I think, right?
Yes.
What differences, you're the New York handicapping guru, what differences are there when they're on the inner versus outer turf there?
Yeah, so inner, sharp returns because it's just not as wide, obviously. So being on the outer turf, that's where they run the turf sprints, just because a sprint into that really sharp turn just really wouldn't be safe for anyone. Um, I always personally, I think being forward um, is always a benefit. And if it's, too out of a pace and being a little off, it's obviously good too. But I always like being out in front in turf races, especially turf sprints.
For sure. So that's very good to note, and I think what might work well is, I mean, they're all lightly raced. I mean, one horse has 1 start, 3, and then 4 for the 6 horse. Might be cool the way I kind of handicap these races. Okay, I go through like what do we know, and then I go through okay, what are the total unknowns and what kind of angles can we potentially get from that.
Yeah.
So of the like known horses, you have the 6 Time for You, out of Kingman, which is obviously a horse bred in Great Britain. That's what GB means. Obviously, over in Europe, they're way more turf leaning, so you have a turf pedigree there. You kind of can see from the running lines here when the horses are on the turf, he's run very well, or she's run very well on the synthetic, not as good. So definitely looks like a turf horse. Makes sense with the breeding. One thing to note here is the horse did show a little bit more speed in the last race, which I think is interesting. Previously, the fastest they ran in that opening tick was 81, it's all up to 120. It's a bit of a slow pace, but still kind of flashed a little bit of speed there. Uh, and decent on debut at this track as well. 6 for beating 5.5 lengths, so not crazy there. So the 6 is like an interesting horse for sure. And then you have the 3 and the 4. The 3, I mean, looked decent on debut, going short, and then went long. Didn't really show too much. I mean, was only beaten 3 lengths in the last start, and the number came back weak. But shortening up here, horse can potentially jump up. Worth noting, like hasn't shown a ton of speed early in these races, especially last race. I kind of crawled on it, like was got a loose lead. That's probably why the number came back so low. But one you can't completely ignore. And then the 4's first start was on the dirt, showed some speed there, 153, 130 on the pace figures, and then faded. So switching over to the grass now. You can't really ignore it. Looks like the dam's thrown 2 stakes winners, including some that have won on the turf here. So Nick, what do you think of the horses that have experience?
Yeah, the horses that have experience, I'm excited for the four. I think first time getting on the turf there, especially with that early speed, like we said, shorten up from 6.5 to 6. Not a big difference, right? But I think the turf is going to do this horse some favors.
I would agree. I would agree. I mean, you kind of can see it with the dam throwing winners on the grass, and then I think Frosted tends to throw more turfy horses, in my opinion. I think he can throw them both ways, but more turfy.
Yeah, this one, the Stars and Strides horse, the one that's the sibling of this horse, that was a very nice horse last year. Came back at Keeneland, I believe, a couple weeks ago. How did it run there? Did not finish actually at Keeneland. Um, but was a very nice horse last year.
Yeah. All right. Of the unraced horses, there's obviously us, and we'll save the best for last in terms of I've got some videos of her works and some commentary from her trainer, Tom Worley. Um, you really don't know until they get in the gate and they get going. So it's super exciting having a debut here. The one thing you do have are just like trainer stats as well as workouts. Workouts are a little tough to judge off pure time because you don't know the intention of the work. I know Nick in the summer at Saratoga, you get the workout reports, so you kind of get a little bit of inside baseball. People that are there clocking, they typically know the tendencies of the trainers as well as who the horses went with, and kind of can break down what they think the intention of the work was and how the horse was moving with those intentions in mind. So the next unraced horse would be the two horse. Our buddy Edgar's Eyes is the jockey. Actually, he's a great dude. Trainer is the first female trainer of the Belmont Stakes, Jenna Antonucci. Uh, looks like she's not one that like fully cranks, and they call it, like hasn't fully ready for the first start. When that kind of lets them kind of build the foundation through their races. Uh, Funny that horses also by Vacoma. I see this horse being one to float up, but being my horse could potentially stay around the same level. So I don't know, Nick, anything to add on the two?
No, same point I was going to make with the sire there, Fakoma. Nothing too crazy about it. I mean, the work seemed halfway decent. Again, like Matt said, always tough to tell just based off of times. The work two back was from the gate, and that looked like a pretty nice time. So, assume that the horse has some, nice gate speed to it as well.
Yeah. And it's another thing to note is like when you follow a circuit and you follow certain trainers, you realize their tendencies where some of them like to work them a bunch from the gate and some of them don't. So it could be a red flag that this horse worked 3 times in a row out of the
Yeah,
gate, or it could just be how Jenna gets these horses ready. So it's like those are some of the things where if you follow like one circuit with specific trainers that you kind of start to pick up on is okay, like, you know, like this trainer likes to like only work them 1 time out of the gate versus this one really likes to kind of build those gate works up. So it's another like thing to note as well.
yeah, definitely. Because usually, if a trainer doesn't like going multiple times, and you see a horse like this that has gone a good amount, there's probably is some type of gate issues there. So, I don't really know what Jenna likes to do, but definitely interesting that there was a decent amount of gate works in a row there.
Sure. And then you have like your two shortest prices here. Kind of makes sense with the connections and the sire power here. So not this time is kind of the new champion knocking on the door of kind of being the number one general sire. And then you have Intimischief, who has been the number one general sire for like 4 to 6 years in a row, something crazy. He just throws runners and winners all around. So obviously, the sire power is there by some high profile connections with Miguel Caman and Todd Pletcher. I think what is interesting here is this is like these are the stats, like first start stats. Obviously, like Miguel Caman's a very, very high percentage trainer first time out, which is honestly what kind of surprised me. I felt like his father might have been maybe not as high percentage first time out. Maybe I'm wrong there, Nikki.
No, I always thought of Kristoff as more of a second time out type of guy as well.
So it looks like well, when Christoph tragically passed, Miguel took over the stable, and it looks like he's kind of cranking him out first time out. Like 33% first time start main special, which is a significant stat for sure. And then you've got Todd, who obviously like first time out has a bunch of runners, like he has really, really nice horses, but first time starting out on the turf, 6%. Doesn't say first start on the turf, it's just the first turf start, so it could be kind of convoluted. I'd be interested if someone had the DRF formulator, if like first time start on the grass was as like low percentage for Todd's typical percentage, or not, but just kind of something to note there. I mean, you really don't know with these, like especially turf sprint first time starts. So we're just gonna, cross our fingers and hope she runs huge here.
Agree.
So I tabulated all of the workout notes that our wonderful trainer Tom Morley put together for us. I'm not gonna read them all out, but these are the 4 work that she's had since the injury. She came back from her injury and was ready to rock and roll, it seems. So, I mean, we'll leave on the screen for a while. If you want to read them, you can pause it. I think kind of like the big last 2 works. It's really like two things. The two things to note would be hasn't worked from the gate, but they schooled her out of the gate, and she broke really well here. I mean, she was between like two unraced New York breds, so like, we don't really know how great those horses are. But the company she's kept in her other workouts have been really solid. So here she went with Victory Hall. So she is on the outside here. On the outside, it's pretty grainy. I don't know why, but she was, keeping up. You see nostrils flaring for sure. Let's see what Mr. Morley said about this work. She worked a half mile in 49.4, went very nicely. Tiny bit tired at the end of the gallop out, but considering she wants to run short on the turf and she's working with an experienced stakes filly, this is a good work from her. Passes the vet exam, waiting on the blood in order to pass. Because she got put on the vet's list after she got hurt in her last work before her rehab. She had to come off the vet's list. All that is clear now. The horse that she went with was Victory Hall. I can have it up here in a little bigger format for you guys. So she is a New York bred that has, won a stakes race there, going a full mile. Kind of makes sense that the horse kind of outfinished her, but I always like when our horses are working with, you know, higher quality horses in a sense. Typically, trainers like to match up their horses with horses of similar level in the mornings. I mean, like with 2-7 once he won that claiming race, all of a sudden he was working with, some of the best horses in the Fox barn. So that's a way that some trainers tip their hand in terms of like first time starters. If you are ever on like a website called ExpressBet TV, or you called First TV now, will post workouts as well as in Kentucky. There's a website that actually just posts workouts from Keeneland and Churchill. So if you see a first time starters and keeping up with, experienced horses that have, won in this case 4 times, it's definitely something to note.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, the workouts, who you work with is very important. Right? If Tom didn't think too highly of this horse, I don't know if he'd be working her with a stakes level horse. So I think that's definitely something that is encouraging for us.
For sure. And then I'll show quickly here her gate schooling. So this wasn't like a timed workout. They just break from the gate to kind of give her some reminders of what her job is there. She's in the middle here, broke like a rocket. Got out quick there. So that
Do that
was
tomorrow.
impressive. Do that tomorrow. That'd be very solid, especially in a turf sprint going short. You want to break well for sure. And the last work, the one she did last week, 6 days, 7 days ago, as of tomorrow. So this is kind of why I think times of your works are super duper deceiving. So, like, I mean, you can see her times of her floor work since her break. She went 36, 36, 50, 50, 50.51. You might think, okay, like she went a little bit slower in that last work. What went on there? Meanwhile, here's what our trainer thought. Florida Patriot worked very, very nicely this morning into a strong headwind. So you get to take into account the wind there and the time for sure. She started off in 25.2 seconds and came home in 25 seconds flat. Probably the best I've ever seen her work. Now we're going the blood work to clear, which obviously has cleared since. Obviously, we're super excited based upon that glowing review. But at the end of the day, it's like you really don't know until they all line up and they reveal who they are once those gates open. All right, Nikki, any thoughts on how you might be playing this race? Thoughts going into how you play just, turf sprints with first time starters in general? Any
Yeah,
advice for
definitely.
those gambling?
Another thing that I want to point out is our trainer, Tom Morley, his stats with our jockey, Ricardo Santana Jr. I don't know if you want to just pop that up quick, just on the screen, just so we can see it. Yeah, so if you take a look at under the jockey where it says Ricardo Santana Jr., their numbers are pretty good together. They're a pretty good combo, especially on the turf right now. So Ricardo's been one of my favorite jockeys. I'm happy he's full time here in New York. I always liked him in a horse that has a little bit of speed to it. I feel like he's a very aggressive rider, and especially on the turf, I feel like he's very good on the turf. I feel he's always an underrated turf rider because he used to come from Oaklawn where there isn't turf racing. So I feel like his turf racing gets a little disrespected. So I was very excited that we got him on Florida Patriot. So looking forward to that. And then just back to Matt's original question about how the race plays out. I'm pretty confident that we're going to run good. I think having your best work being the last work before you run is always a really good sign. That means that the horse is doing pretty well. You saw the video of Florida Patriot breaking from the gate. break like that tomorrow, get on the lead. First time out, conditioning always a little bit of a concern, especially going six. I think 5.5 at Saratoga might really hit her right in between the eyes and be like the perfect distance for her. So I want to see a really good showing, encouraging enough to stay in maiden special weight, or if you're lucky to break the maiden tomorrow, be ready to step up a little bit in competition and stay on the turf going short and keep knocking them down.
100%. Any bets you've got planned out in your brain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to bet Florida Patriot to win. I'm pretty confident. I honestly was surprised that we were 12-1. I guess the other first time starters, like we said earlier, not this time into mischief. Miguel, obviously excellent. Todd, obviously excellent as well. But Tom Morley's a great trainer too. So I was a little surprised we were 12-1. I don't think we'll go off the long shot on the board, like the morning line says, but we'll see. I mean, the higher the odds are, the more it pays out. So nothing wrong with that. And I also do like that four that we were talking about earlier. I think the turf is going to help this horse. I do think experience matters. So this horse having one race under its belt on April 3rd is definitely something that is going to benefit this horse. Like we said, the siblings are pretty nice as well. So this horse should like the turf and should run a big race tomorrow.
Yep, I agree. I think you might get value here with both those horses, honestly. I think the five will take a ton of money. I think Todd, first time starters, always take a ton of money. You got Pride aboard too. So honestly, like for me, something like this, like I like the price chase. Like I might do something like four overall with like, none of the two favorites hope for a bomb and cash in big time. Obviously like Florida pitches like over 10-1. I'll probably just bet her win place. That's kind of my go-to bet, but I might even sprinkle the show. Don't tell Brian, he'll roast me because I roast him for betting shows. But overall, I'm just excited. I mean, we'll see what she can do here. It sets up well timing wise. I mean, knock on wood, it all goes well. If she runs well tomorrow, maybe we could wheel her back here in 4 weeks for it's 4.5, 5 weeks actually for
Yeah.
the Belmont at Saratoga meet. So I mean, a boy can dream for sure.
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I think, having a horse, any horse that we can running would be very exciting. So hopefully that's the case there. No, I've said, I think when we did our like preview video for 2026, I think one of the things that I said was having a horse win a maiden special weight race would be a big time accomplishment. So let's get that done tomorrow.
For sure. I think the boy 270 we miraculously haven't mentioned till the very end here. Definitely ticked off a few boxes for us there. So
Yes.
we'll have to rewatch that and see what he's accomplished for us there. But yeah, ton of fun. Let us know how you guys are betting it. If you got any questions, shoot us a text. Good luck.